Okay, everybody, thanks so much for coming on tonight with very short notice. But I thought if I'm struggling a little bit managing these reports and making sense of it all with the suspended accounts that are now coming up for being deleted, then probably there are a few others out there as well. So I had a little bit of help from Jay Saturday morning, which a little bit made a big difference. I had a little bit of help from Jen today when I went to recreate with Jen what I learnt on Saturday, either through my own struggle with it and some input I had from Jay. So that was really great. And yeah, so we are recording this, right. All right, so what I'm going to do now, what I wanted to do was actually use a demo account. Normally ASEA makes available. That demo account is unavailable at the moment. So that put a little bit of a spin on things late today because I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have to somehow recreate this using a PowerPoint. So let's see how we go with this. I think it's going to be useful. There will come a point where I'll like, you know what, if you get this far and you're needing some support, then just call me and or call someone who knows Excel, because there's this kind of a component of using Excel in this as well. But just to look at your own report, you'll be very clear at the end of our time together tonight on how to do that. And anyway, I'm only a phone call away. The beauty of having a recording, you can play it over and over again. That's what I do when Nicole does recordings and trainings. I probably watch it 3 or 4 times before I'm able to run with it. So I'm just going to share my screen. All right, so here we go. Managing cancellations of suspended accounts. Now, the first thing you want to know is, where do you find your renewal date in your back office? Because you will get calls from some of your associates who, first of all, they're wondering, oh my God, if they missed renewing, could they be one of them that's going to be deleted? So the first thing you can do is either step them through. We've got some unstable internet. 1 second. You can either step them through to how to find their own renewal date, or you can help them with that if you're able to go into their back office. So the first thing you're going to go to is into your virtual office. You go to menu, which of course is that top right-hand corner. Click on the My Account section, then Associate Information, and on the right side, when you look down the page, it has Status. And you can see at the bottom of that list is the renewal date. And this one's mine, which is the 8th of January 21. Now, of course, all the dates are in US time. So that, I find, is just another access for confusion when you're looking at a whole heap of dates, right? I'm like, oh, my goodness. So just remember, it's always American. The next thing you want to do is go to reports, because you want to print off a report for yourself in your team with the suspended renewal. So again, you're going to go to menu, you're going to go to reports, just move everybody out of the way, and you're going to go to associate customer search. So that one's pretty obvious. Probably most of you are familiar with finding that in the report section. Yours will probably be at the top, the first one. Mine's the third one. Okay, so then once you get into that report, you're going to click on, the first thing you're going to do is click on Advanced Search. Now, don't worry about trying to write this down or remember it, because you're going to be able to look back on the recording. Once Advanced Search comes up, you're going to scroll down the page until you come to the Business Info section. And what you're looking for is account status. And that's on the right-hand side, you know, about 5 or 6 down on the right-hand side. And you're going to click on the drop-down box on the right, and you're going to select Suspended Renewal Due. Everybody following at this stage? All good? Beautiful, a few nods. Now you're going to scroll down a bit further, and we're going to go to select column headings, because at the end of the day, you don't really want to report this wide, an Excel spreadsheet, with lots of data in it that's really not useful for this exercise. So it's really great to just have the information in there that's going to help you support your team and get the job done. And you're going to, I just called it personalize the report. Now, essentially what you're going to end up with, if you look at this box on the right here, that's all you want in this report to help you with supporting your people and reaching out. In other words, most things are going to be on this side. This is the tailored report, if you like, and we're going to have a closer look at that. So this is essentially what you want in that report and in that order. So, I mean, you can add in another part of the report you could add in is whether it's your left leg or your right leg. You'll have an option of leaving that in there if you wanted to, and this is the order that I find works best. So once you have everything in the right column, you can actually click on, let's say for example, sponsor, and if it's further down the list, you can actually, once you've clicked on it, you can drag it up and drop it in under surname. So you can, I can't do it on the PowerPoint, but yeah, in the actual back office, you can click on it and drag it, so you can sort out the order. So how you do it, if you haven't done it before, what you're going to do is you're going to click on boxes that you either want to move to the right, or if they're in the right and you don't want them in the right, you click on boxes in the right side and you're going to click on move to move them to the left, which is why you end up with you know, a short report on the right and all the other information is moved to the left. Once you've done that, you want to save it as your default report. So you click on save as default and then save. So anytime I go into my reports now, I'm actually starting with that shorter report, and then I can move anything across to it from the left to the right if I need a report for another purpose. Once you've finished there and you've got, you know, all the column headings that you want, you're then going to click on show report, and then a report will come up, underneath, which I can't show you for privacy reasons, and you're going to click on the download button here, and it's going to download it to your computer. So once you've found it, for me it just downloads it and drops it at the bottom left hand side of my screen. You might have to go to your download folder, but you go to the folder, you find the report, you click on it, open it up, and then you save it to your computer. Well, it's already on your computer, but then I am going to start to do some work on it, and I usually save it to the desktop to do the work before I put it into my final resting place, if you like. So the first thing you've got to click on is enable editing. Now when you look at it, it's going to have everybody in your team and everybody they've sponsored, and they're all just going to be all jumbled in together. They're not going to be like all of Margot's people or all of Kay's people and then all of, say, Terry Diamond's people, or all the people frontline to Terry Diamond. They're just going to be all a big mishmash, and it's very, very hard to work with. The same with the renewal dates. They're going to be all mixed up as well. So that's really impossible to work with. So what you're going to do is use the filters. Now, just try this out. It is very simple. Jay showed me Saturday. By mistake, after I got off, I deleted it. The report didn't make me happy, and then Jen just showed me today. It was just literally, if I can reproduce it, you'll be able to do that from watching this. So you go, we're looking at an Excel spreadsheet now. You go to the ribbon at the top and you click on data, and then filter, and then A to Z. So just do that, follow in that order. And what comes up, it allows us to do sort of like 2 filters on the one report. So this box will pop up, and you're going to click on the down arrow here for the sort by. So you want that report to be sorted by number 1, the sponsor, so that all the names have clustered together, all the same names are all together, and then they'll all show up in the report in alphabetical order. And it's just so easy to work with it after that. But then we want to put a second level. And to do that, we're going to click on up here plus or add a level, and then we're going to select the renewal date, and then we're going to click OK. And now your report looks like this. So out of my report, where there's, 1,000 in there, whoops, they're not all my people, but then all the Janine Babauskases are together. So that's really useful for me when I'm personally wanting to work with my people. And their renewal date now is in order of the dates that they're going to start to be deleted. So now I've got a report I can actually work with. And then as a result of that, like for people on my team, like I could copy all of Kay's people in my report, send it to Kay, and so I made extra reports. I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But prior to doing these, putting the filters on, I was like, oh my God, I don't even know where to start with this. So it was Jay to the rescue, thank goodness, because I knew I could do the filters and get all the names in order, but I didn't know how to work with the date. So that was so useful when Jay showed me how to do that second level filter. Now, what I did, I added an extra column, and I'm not going to tell you how to do that, but I'll tell you why I did it. And then if you don't know how to do it, you can just call me up or ask somebody who knows how to use Excel. Because that extra column allowed me to add the corresponding month that they're going to be deleted in. And the accounts that are being deleted are basically accounts that have been suspended for 180 days. So 180 days is nearly 6 months, or approximately 6 months. So 6 months ago takes us to July 2019. However, ASEA original intention was to start rolling this out in November 2018, but there was a 2-month delay. And because of that, you'll notice there's dates here for June and May, and then I've got some random date at the top. I have no idea what that is. I'm not even going to worry about that at the moment. But essentially, the people that are going to be deleted this week, the 15th, will be all the people that have not paid from May onwards last year, and they're at the end of their 180 days. All right, so I hope that's making sense. So anything that has July and back are all going to come off in January, but these two will come off next week. And I'll tell you how to work that out in a minute. But I just know that anything from July 15th backwards is coming off this week. So I highlighted those, and obviously they all have names corresponding. So I've been able to reach out to those people and send them that text that I posted in the pod. And, you know, I personalized it a bit depending on how well I knew the person. You know, even for some it was, oh gosh, Happy New Year. You know, we're due for a coffee. Listen, it's come to my attention, yada, 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 right? If it's somebody that I don't know very well, I just kept the formal format. So, you know, you just got to use a bit of nous on that. If they're in New Zealand, well, you get rid of the phone numbers that, you know, that I had for Australia and US. That was just an example of including like the customer service numbers. So rather than put them all in, yeah, if you've got people in other countries, then finding the customer support number. And to be honest, I don't even know where they are. So I added an extra column because I just know for the rest of January, there's 2 other people I've got to focus on. There's 2 people in February I need to focus on, and then I've got a few in March and April, May, etc. So I'll talk to you about that in a minute. I'm just going to check in before I do any more. I'm just going to check in if anyone's got any questions to date. If you do, just unmute yourself. Just anything to do with what I've covered, not anything I haven't covered, because we'll get to that at the end. Everyone good?
Just one question, Janine. Can you hear me?
I can.
When you look at it and you can actually see the 6 months, is it correct that you'd only really have to run this report twice a year?
I believe so, yes, because nobody else is going to come into those months we're looking at. But
that's exactly right. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
That's a fabulous question.
Okay.
And this
I think you should probably run it every month, Janine.
Oh, okay. So let's get some feedback from Jay on that.
I'll give you more feedback later, but hold that and we can come back to it.
We'll hold it. Okay, we're going to park that. Now, Jay is saying every month, so that's why Jay offered to be on. I said, yes, please, because I'm sure there'll be some questions that you'll be able to help out with. All right. Jay, can I just get parked that with you, just so we...
Janine, can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
I'm just a bit confused about something you said. Everyone not paid from May onwards last year. May onwards. But then you said backwards from July.
Well, because this whole process was meant to start in November, 2 months ago.
It's all right. I just tweaked it for 2 months.
Yeah. So those people should have gone by now, but they haven't. They're all going to go out with the July lot. That makes sense?
So I went in a while ago to my binary tree and could see a whole lot of people suspended there. So they're the ones I should be looking to make sure. Because nobody's been deleted already?
No, no one's been deleted yet.
Yeah, so it's a 2-step process. They get suspended and that suspension holds for 180 days. Right. And after 180 days, if they haven't renewed, then they change from suspended to deleted. So
yeah. Yep, I get it.
I'm not quite sure about the jargon. They're using sort of very similar jargon. But it's showing up in the tree as suspended because they've not been purged from the system. So 180 days after the renewal date's due, then they actually won't even appear in the system anymore.
They'll just be gone. You won't even see a spot where they were. There'll be no mark left. They'll just vanish. Okay. Which is the whole point.
Because the compression will have happened and they'll just disappear. Their spot will disappear.
Exactly, and we'll talk a little bit about that too. Yeah, so another reason for tonight is not only to just share what I've learned, but also get your questions, because then you'll have questions that maybe I haven't thought of, and Jen, you just raised one, and then I can get those answers, and then we can address that as well, because I think that now's the opportunity to really get on top of this.
So basically accounts are classified as suspended, renewal due, or suspended. So they'll appear in the binary tree as suspended. And if they're in the binary tree, it implies that the renewal is due. When the 180 days past the renewal date is expired, they're then classified as suspended and they will no longer appear in the tree. That's my understanding. That's
right. But, I mean, that's how I understand it. But look, hey, you know, how I understand it, I believe it's correct, but I'll stand to be corrected, okay?
So suspended is a temporary state, and after the 180 days, they become deleted or cancelled.
It's still actually called suspended. The confusing is they're not changing the language. And they're calling it suspended renewal due or suspended. So suspended renewal due means if you look in the back office, you will see a little box with the word suspended there. And that means the renewal date's passed and the clock is ticking. And when the 180 days come, they do a purge and remove them from the system, and the status changes from suspended renewal due to suspended. And then because they've been purged, they won't appear in the any of the binary trees or the sponsorship trees anymore.
Lovely, thanks, Jay. Now, you can make reports for your team, and I'm not going to go into this in any detail because this becomes an Excel lesson, and I would have loved to have shown you, but it would have meant that, you know, the privacy of my people was no longer private. So I can't show you. I need to really show you, but I'd love to show you on yours. So, so to make reports for your team, you highlight each sponsored group. So for example, in my group, there was all of K's people and all of Jen's people and all of J's people. So I could actually highlight all those and copy and paste them to a new sheet by using the little plus tab at the bottom of the Excel sheet. So I click on the plus, it'd open up a new sheet, and then I would paste it all in. There's a little bit more to it because, sorry, my internet's unstable, because then I'd have to paste in the headings. But just to let you know, you can do that. When I was doing it with Jen today, we found that it didn't actually hold the filtering on renewal dates. So we had to go to the drop-down arrow on the right of the renewal date heading. So these are all the headings. Sponsor, there's a little drop-down arrow there. Lifetime rank, renewal date. If you click on that little drop-down arrow and just click on sort A to Z, even though they're numbers, and Jay will explain that, but I'm not going to ask him to, you can actually use the A to Z to sort the dates on this, which meant then that that report was whole and complete. It was all of, say, Jen's people, Jen and Jeanette's, and the renewal dates were in order of, you know, the oldest to the newest going through to June. So if that's something you need to do because you've got teams and you want to do that, you can just call me up and have your report there ready, and then I'll show you how to do a couple of those. But just know that's possible to do. And that was really useful because that meant Saturday morning I could make reports and forward it out to you all, you know, in the correct order.
But Janine, just another question while I'm thinking of it. I've had a couple of questions from a couple of our team. We assume that everyone who is about to be purged has an email, has had an email.
They would have had multiple emails.
They've had multiple emails. Now, if somebody's changed their email address and they haven't been responsible for updating it with a SEER, then they won't have received the email. There's nothing we can do about that. But that's why, at least if they're on the list and you send them a text, contact them, then, you know, that's an opportunity for them to rectify it if that's what they want to do. But yeah, like there's numerous emails that go out over this period of time. There's actually a whole...
So the ones that have been in touch lately are panicking because they've got 15th of January on there. Doesn't it fit me? And I've been able to say no, it doesn't.
Okay, so what I believe is happening, there are people who have got this latest email and they've panicked a bit like, oh gosh, which I understand because this would be me. Has the renewal come through and I've missed it? You know, I wonder if I'm one of those people because they're worried they've missed an email. So yeah, I had a few of those over the weekend. Exactly. Now, when does the SEER delete accounts? And this is something Jen and I talked about today. They do it once a week and it's every Wednesday in the US. So it's Wednesday US, which means it's Thursday our time. But in discussions with a SEER today, with Diamond support, not just customer support, Diamond support, they advise me that just to be safe, you know, you want to let your people know to pay by Tuesday midnight in Australia. All right, if they want to apps, because once they're deleted, that's it. They can't be like, oh, I thought I had an extra day. No, you're gone. You're out of the tree in the position that you had forever. You can never get back in again. So if you want to do it safely, let them know to pay by Tuesday midnight, which means they can log on to their back office and do it themselves. If they're not confident to do that, give them the customer support number, or they can, call on you for assistance, provided it's not midnight on Tuesday, I would suggest. Now, you can see I've highlighted in January the 15th, so that's when the first slot go through. Just think of this as a US calendar, then the 22nd, and then the 29th. So let's have a look what that means in terms of the people that were on my Excel spreadsheet. So on the 15th of January, there's quite a few people here. Can't see their names for obvious reasons. If they don't renew, they'll all be deleted, all of them, because we're right up here to the 15th of July. Anything before that, because that's like 180 days. These are 180 days plus, all right? So they've just been, these people have just had a little bit of extra time, whether they know it or not. But then let's have a look at the 22nd of January. Who in my team, that should say January the 22nd. All right, just ignore that February. I'm pretty sure that's January, sorry, because I can't see. Yes, January the 22nd. I've highlighted in green that I've got somebody that's from the 18th of July to the 21st of July. So that 18 to 21 falls prior to the 22nd. So they're between the 15th and the 22nd. That means on the 22nd in the US, they will be purged out of the tree as well. They'll be deleted. That makes sense? Then we'll go on again. So then this is the date range for deletion in February. We've got the 5th of Feb, because this is still January the 29th, 5th, 12th, 19 and 26. So if we look at the date range in February, then this is the 4th of March. Who on my list would be deleted? I've got 2 people that I've marked as February. So we're going to go, I'm actually going to go back to that list where I added the extra column, because that might make a little more sense to you why I've done that. That I've actually added a column with February, knowing that it highlights to me there are 2 people in my business that are going to be deleted in February. Now, the 7th, that person will be deleted on the 12th, right? Because it's after the 5th and it's before the 12th. So I know on the 12th, this person will be deleted if they don't pay. And the other person for me in February is the 23rd. So they fall between the 19th and the 26th. So they will be deleted on the 26th. Is that making sense? Yeah. Okay.
Now, Janine, if you would like, I've downloaded an Excel spreadsheet. I've de-identified it, so I could always give you a demonstration of how to do all of those things with an actual spreadsheet that's been de-identified.
Oh, I think we'd love that. So why don't we go to that in a sec then? That'd be awesome. Is everybody keen to see Jay demonstrate what we've been through? Yeah, wouldn't that be great? Especially with a recording, you can go back and have a look at it. I'm just going to go back to my report where I've actually put the column in. Yes, so you can see here, this is this column here with the January, February, March, April, May, June. That's just a column I've added in because otherwise you've got all these dates and it's American dates, and I just found that super confusing. So I know that anything with a July is going to be in January, but anything with an August is February, anything with a September is March. So you just got to...
Did you type those dates in manually, Janine?
Jen showed me how to type it in and then drag it and duplicate it. Yep, that was super cool. Yeah, so adding the extra column, I find that helps me, so it might help you as well. We're just going to go back to here. So just recapping on what Jay said earlier, if the account is not renewed within 180 days from the date of suspension, the account will be cancelled. They're calling it cancelled, deleted, but the language they're using is cancelled, which means they'll no longer hold a place in any of the ASEA commission tree. So that means the binary or the other, what do we call the other one, Jay?
Sponsorship tree.
Sponsorship tree. And they forfeit eligibility for reinstatement. There's absolutely no exception to that, zero exception. And that email went out on January the 8th, where I've copied this from. So let's look at some questions. This one I've just addressed. Once deleted, can we ring up and have them reinstated back into their original position? That's an absolute no. Don't even ring. Can they go into their back office any time before deleted to pay renewal fee? Yes, they can do it themselves. Is there a 6-month waiting period if they want to set up an associate account again? I'm waiting on the answer for that. Right, Diamond Support know the answer to that.
They have said there is a 6-month waiting period in the communications.
Right, okay, because she was going to check the policies and procedures. So that's probably, that probably is a yes. Is there a 6-month waiting period before they come back in? We'll take that as a yes for now. Can they immediately register as a preferred customer? Yes. The cost of renewal fee in Australia is $30, our money. And what's the safe period to work on for payments of renewal fee before deletion? Tuesday midnight, Australian time. And as you know, cancellations begin 15th of January. That's the 15th in the US. And here's where they've made a bit of a note about the allowance to allow for global leadership more time to adjust to the changes. Account deletions were put on hold at that time and are now set to begin taking effect from the 15th of Jan. So it was meant to start 1st of November 19. What is compression? So for example, if you've sponsored an associate and they are deleted and they've sponsored people, the people that they've sponsored, personally sponsored, then come up and they are now your personal sponsor, like you are their sponsor now. So it's compressed, they've disappeared, so they come up to you, and if you went into their back office, it would actually show you as their sponsor. The sponsor name will be you. Yeah, so it'll just automatically compress up, and if they were on your 2nd level, they will now become your 1st level and frontline to you. All right, so whatever level they're on, if they're on the 5th level, they'll come up to the 4th if one person drops out. So what's the benefit of compression to you? Well, as you develop your business and move up through the ranks, it will impact some of your income streams positively. And we have 8 streams of income, so you'll see them all listed here. The 2 that it will impact is the executive momentum pool, because we get paid what's called PGV3. So that's your personal group volume 3 levels down. That's what the momentum pool is worked out on. So imagine if you've got, you know, Deadwood 1st and 2nd level, could even be the 3rd level for that matter, because you've got people that have been sitting there. And when you think how long, and it's global, this income, this is calculated globally. And when you think how long ASEA has been in existence now, it's 10 years, you can imagine without this compression going on, there could be people that have been sitting there for 9 or 10 years that just aren't ordering, and they might have got in early days. So they're actually blocking you from, you know, maximizing the income from the executive momentum pool. So if some of you are in the executive ranks, you've already opened those pools, but all of you have still got pools to open in that area. So that's really good news. And the other area it'll impact is the diamond pool. So when you get up into the diamond level, which for some of us, you know, we've got goals to get there and beyond, it will benefit you by the fact we haven't got all this, say, we'll call it deadwood in the system. Okay, now, so I'm just going to stop my share for a minute. I can't even find it. Here it is. There we go. And before I hand over to Jay, who can actually show us on an Excel spreadsheet, has anyone got any questions to date? Oh, good. Awesome. Jay, I'm going to hand straight over to you. Thank you so much for having an Excel spreadsheet that we can work with.
Okay, so firstly, I'll start with, and I am aware, Janine, not to sort of show private information, so I won't do that.
Yep.
So this is, you select menu, reports, associate customer support, associate customer search. To get into this section here, you need to hit advanced search. So this is what Janine did in the presentation, but I'll just show you what it actually looks like. Advanced search will actually bring up all of this business information that's normally hidden. And if you scroll down, I've made this so it's half screen width. If it was full screen width, it would look a little bit different. But you'll find one entry called account status, which is here. And when you click on that, there's three options: open, which means they're a current, suspended, renewal due, or suspended. At some point, they may change the language. They've been changing a bit of the words in a few other places recently. So this could change, but at the moment, to generate the report, you select suspended, renewal due. And then you scroll down and you would hit show report. But as Janine also pointed out, before you do that the first time, you want to give some thought about what information you want in the report. So we hit the button here that says select column headings. And we give some thought to what information we want. So what appears on the right-hand side is what will be in the report. What's on the left-hand side is available options. So if I check this box here on the left that says second phone, scroll down and hit move to the right, scroll back up, second phone is now in the list that'll be displayed on the report. I actually don't want in there, so I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to check the box for second phone, scroll down and move it back to the list of things I don't want. Now it won't be there on the report. So these are things that I find useful. You definitely want the renewal date. I think it's also good to put in the last order date, just so you've got an idea of when they last ordered as well. They're not going to have an active auto ship because if they had an active auto ship, they would be renewed automatically. I just left that in there because I tend to use that. I don't want to change the reports around too much. You can see how the cursor is a four-headed arrow. If you click and hold with the left mouse button and drag, you can actually reposition the order. So if I move country, click and hold it and drag it, it's now above state and release. So you can then rearrange all of that. When you're happy with how it looks, check the box here that says save as default, which means it will always remember everything you've done in future reports, and hit save. Now I'm going to click cancel because I'm happy with what I've done. There's two options here after you press show report and it creates a report. There's two buttons here, the cloud icon with a downward arrow and the print icon. So we want to hit the cloud button, which will download it. It depends very much on what computer you have, what happens next. Mm-hmm. Some of them will put it into a folder on your computer called the downloads folder. Some of them will actually give you the option of where you want to put it. So that's a little bit of another conversation, but generally it will either go into the downloads folder or give you the option of where to put it. And at the end, you'll get a Excel spreadsheet. So here's one I prepared earlier. So can you see this? So basically this column here, I've got it. Yeah. So this column here, account status, they will all have SOH-R, which is suspended renewal due. So I've just left that in. So these are all of the people that are going to be suspended. Now, I have given some feedback to ASEA around this, so hopefully they'll fix this up. When the dates are actually text, they're actually not put into Excel as dates, they're input into Excel as text, which is a little bit confusing, but I'll come back to that in a minute. with Excel, there's a home ribbon. There's lots of different ribbons up at the top. So the ribbon we want to focus on is the data ribbon because we're going to be manipulating data in the spreadsheet. So we hit the data ribbon, and in the middle, there'll be this funnel called the filter button. When we click on this, what will change is you'll see all these drop-down arrows appear at the top of every column. So that allows you to manipulate the data on the spreadsheet easily. If we hit the drop-down for renewal date, the sorting options are sorting by A to Z or Z to A. And the problem is the dates, they're left justified, which means they've been imported as text. So you can only actually work with them as letters and numbers. You can't work with them as dates. So you lose a lot of the power of Excel. Now, this is a step that Janine didn't mention, but I'll show you this because this is what I do myself, and I think it's a lot easier. We want to insert another column after last order date and another column after renewal date. And this time we want the date to be as a date, not as text. So I'm going to select column H, right mouse click, insert. So I've got a column there. I'm going to select the mobile phone column, right mouse click, insert. So I've got a column here. We can't call them same things. So just be mindful. You can, I suppose. I'm just going to call that last order date. I'm going to call this one renewal. I want to sort of, so we know that this is text because it's left justified. The formula you need to convert it into, or the function you need to convert it into an actual date, in this new column we've created, you type an equal sign, you type the word date value, type a left bracket, and then select the cell to the left of it, and then do the closing right bracket and go enter. And you're going to get this 5-digit number, but that's actually how Excel works with dates. So once we've actually seen it converted to a 5-digit number, we then select column H. We go back to the home ribbon. And in this section here where it says number, we hit the drop down and change it to a short date. And now we have a date. So can you see now this is no longer left justified, it's right justified. If I hit the drop down on the funnel in column G, I can only sort to A to Z. If I hit the drop down on the top of column H, I'm now sorting oldest to newest, and it's giving me more functionality, right? So what we're going to do now is in the bottom right of that cell, there's a small green square. If we double click on it, we'll copy that formula all the way down to the bottom. So we're going to repeat this here, equals date value, select the cell to the left of it. We technically don't need to put in the right-hand bracket. Double click on that. This is how Excel records dates. What, out of interest, the number 43639 means it was 43,639 days since the 1st of January 1900. That's Excel's way that it calculates dates. So we now select column J on the home ribbon. In the number section, we hit the drop down here. We select short date again, and now we've got dates. And now these are working as dates. So because these text columns are confusing and they're a little bit hard to work with, I would select this text column, right mouse click and hide it. And the renewal date one that's text, select it, right mouse click and hide it. So it looks like we're back to where we were before, but now the dates are right justified, and the drop down boxes here give you a lot more options. So when you were saying before, Janine, about doing a column for January, let's say I want in the renewal one, I only want to look at people whose renewals are in 2019. Can you see this box here? I uncheck the box for 2020 and go okay. And what happens now is this small, it's a little bit hard to see, but a small funnel has appeared alongside of that drop down at the top. And now what we're seeing in the renewal column are only dates for 2019. So this is another way of filtering. You get a lot greater filtering functions by hitting this drop down here. And it also allows us to do more complicated filters. I'll show you, this is a bit of an advanced trick, but if you copy exactly what I do, it should work. 180 days, working out 180 days, and let's say I come back to this a week later, you know, it's now 7 days in advance. You would really like some sort of visual signal. What are the accounts at 180 days? So the trick to do that, we're going to select column J. On the home ribbon, there's a button called conditional formatting. So this will actually color code cells to criteria that we give us. So we hit conditional formatting. We select the option that says new rule. At the bottom, it says use the formula. And in here, we type in equals today, left bracket, right bracket. So that says to Excel, use today's date. We then hit the minus sign, and even though J1 is just the word renewal, we're going to actually put the cursor on the heading, which is J1. So we're back here. It puts dollar signs in front. I won't go into what that does, but we don't want the dollar sign in front of the one. So put the cursor before the one and remove that dollar sign. So it will now say dollar sign, the column, and the number 1. And then you type greater than 180. So what's that saying? If you save this on your spreadsheet, on your desktop, and open the spreadsheet in 2 weeks, it will say, I will look at today's date and only highlight things that are over 180 days past the renewal date. So that means this report will be dynamic, and we need to give it a bit of a color code. So on the bottom here, there's a format button. We click that. There's 4 tabs up here. So on the fill tab, let's pick, it's bad. So let's maybe pick the red one in the middle. We don't want it too dark or it makes the words hard to read. We'll then go over to the font tab and select the text and make the text red. Let's see how that works. And yeah, so that's giving you a preview. So when we go OK, all of the dates that are 180 days past renewal are now highlighted in red. And if you then close this and open it up in a week's time, it would adjust that accordingly.
Jay, can I just interrupt for a minute? I didn't see any of that. Did anyone else see that red color coding? No, there's sort of a large box in the way.
Is there?
Yeah, it's like format values where this formula, we can sort of see that as if it's blown it up.
Okay, so I'll do this again.
So there's the end result, which is great.
Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay. We were okay until you started all the color coding.
Okay. So what we do is we select the column, and it's probably, rather than selecting the whole column, which is what I said to do before, it'll probably be easier to actually select the first one, which here's J1, click and drag all the way down. Oops, I've gone too far. Yeah, so select everything from the very first cell with the heading name right down to the bottom. So let's just limit what we're looking at. On the home ribbon, hit conditional formatting and go new rule. And this was when I was putting a magnifying glass up. Is that still working now?
Yeah.
Can you see?
Hang on a sec. What's happened now? Sort of. I won't use the magnifier. That's probably interfering with things. Yeah.
There's an option at the bottom, use a formula to determine which cells to format. So I click on that, and there's a space to write a formula. I type in equals the word today, left bracket, right bracket, which will always return today's date every time you open Excel. Hit the minus sign. Now we've got to scroll back up, and we'll hit the very first cell in that column, which is going to be the heading cell.
Jay, we can't see where you're working on the our right side of the screen.
You know what it looks like, Jay? It looks like the snipping tool has taken a bit of a snip of what's going on, and there's a screen that we're looking at where we're all frozen in it, and it's covering your report.
Okay, I'm showing the whole screen, so I'm not quite sure what's...
I don't know if other people can see that, but there's like a frozen snapshot which is half covering your Excel spreadsheet.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the bit that I need you to be looking at. So
That's what we're seeing.
let me try one more time. I'm saying...
It looks like it's frozen this screen that we're looking at now before the share.
Can you see its little box that's popped up now?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so for some reason that was not displaying correctly. So when you hit conditional formatting, new rule, you then hit this bottom option, use a formula to determine which cells to convert to format. And in there you type equals today minus, and you select the very first cell in the column, which here is going to be the word renewal.
Yep.
It's inputted as dollar, column letter, dollar, number one. We don't want the dollar before the one, so we go back and delete that. So it's now dollar, letter, and the number one. And then we type in great, so that symbols are greater than sign, greater than 180. So it's going to trigger for anything that's over 180 days. We then hit this format button down here. So you're still seeing it?
Yes, we can. Yep.
Okay. And there's some buttons across the top. We go to the fill tab. I sort of pick the red in the middle. You don't want too darker or too bright. So this red in the middle. Go back to font, and for the color of the text, pick maybe a slightly deeper red. So when we go OK, you should find it's going to look something like that. So we go OK, and that will highlight all of the renewal dates that are over 180 days. So red means they're about to be, they're going to be dropped off. Now, we then want to overlay it with something else. So we're going to do this again. Can you see conditional formatting new rules? Is this still visible?
Yes.
Is this box popped up still visible?
Yep.
Okay. So I was using a magnifier before, so that must have interfered somehow.
And it was good too, because we could see what you were doing, but yeah.
We click the option at the bottom, use a formula, and this time we type the same thing in again, or almost the same thing. We type today, left bracket, right bracket, minus the first cell at the top, which is the column name. We go back and delete the dollar sign before the number one, and this time we go greater than 150. So we're now going to trigger all things that are only at the 150-day mark.
Is that so?
That's giving us the window of 30 days where, okay, that they're not a drop-off point. There's a warning.
Yep.
So we're going to hit the format button again, go fill, and this time let's pick one of the oranges. Go back to font and pick one shade darker orange and go OK, and go OK. But what it's done is it's said anything over 150 days is orange, which includes the ones that used to be red.
Mm.
So the third step you need to do, and this is the last step, you need to hit conditional formatting, select manage rules, and these are the two things we've got here. Make things go red or make things go orange. So we select the rule so if something's red, we don't want to change it to orange like it's just done.
Yeah.
So we select the rule to make things red. There's an arrow here, so we move that up. And there's a checkbox here, stop if true. So if something gets changed to red, just stop. Don't do anything more with that cell. Then if there's any cells that are not red, but they're at the 150-day mark, let's put them in orange. So now when we go OK, now we'll see anything that's 180 days plus is red. Anything that's going to trigger has got 30 days before it goes into the red zone will now be orange. And again, it's a little bit scattered all over the place. But if I hit the drop down here for renewal, we've got some options. I can sort by color. So I can say, I want to see all of the red ones at the top. And now all the red ones are at the top. Mm-hmm. The difference between sort and filter, sort will put all of the ones that match the criteria at the top. and leave everything else in the report. If you actually hit filter instead, it will only show you the red ones and will not show you anything else. So depending on what you want. So I'm going to clear that. So let's go back to the data ribbon. If you hit the drop down and you have, there's sort there. If you've got a filter by color, let's say we'll do filter by color again. If you click here, then there's a funnel with a red X alongside of it, and that's what you can use to remove that filter that you've got. And if you've got something a little bit more complicated, which Janine touched on as well, you can click on this button here that says sort Z to A and A to Z. And that lets you combine filters. So I've got the first one. I'm going to sort the renewal column by cell color and put the red ones on the top. I'm then going to add another level, and I want to go to the renewal column, and this time, not cell values, I want the orange ones next. So now when I go okay, I've got all the red ones I can work through, and I can see which are the ones that are going to go into the red zone fairly soon. If I close this report, so the reason why I suggest you would do that once every month, like pick a date the first of the month, it takes a little bit of fiddling to set this up, but once you've got that, it'll last you for the whole month, and every time you open it, it will adjust the colors to whatever date it is today. And then, the first of the next month, download another report and get all the settings correct.
So Jay, just to clarify that, if we did download a report every month, we've got to go through this setting up these filters again and colors. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
well, once you've done it once or twice, it's a fairly quick process. It might take a little bit of time to sort of get the hang of it the first time you do it.
Yeah. So look, anybody who's watching this, who's on the call tonight, who has Excel experience, for example, Jen Cooper, this would be great information for you. For the rest of us, I don't know if I'll ever do it, but anyway, I could take that on. So Jay, let's
sort of step back then, Janine. So let's just undo that. I'm going to remove all of that conditional formatting and just clear it. So let's imagine you don't want to take on that extra step, and I want to sort things, and I want to sort everything by sponsor. Oh, they're all the same sponsor, but if I wanted to sort things...
That was a bit quick. Could you just go back and slowly show us how you cancelled the unconditional?
Actually, Margot, don't worry about the cancelling, Dale. This is just for demonstration purposes. Yeah. Jay's saying, look, if you don't want to do that, what he just showed us,
then don't do it in the first place.
Don't do it in the first place, yeah.
The advantage is now we've got this renewal column. If we hit the drop down at the top here, because we've changed it into a date and it's no longer numbers, we have these check boxes here with plus signs. So we know we don't really want to be looking at anyone in 2020. So I can uncheck that box. So let's have a look. We've got in this report 83 lines. If I go up to the top here and hit the renewal drop down and uncheck 2020, it's now only showing people whose renewals are due in 2019. We've now got, we've still got 83 lines. Anyhow, but what you also get is alongside of 2019, there's a plus sign. You can hit on the plus sign there and only focus on specific months. So let's say I think, I'm not going to be fussed too much about the people in October, November, and December. I can uncheck those boxes, and now when I go okay, the report is now down to 77 lines because it's got rid of the people that are due for suspension, because they've only just fallen into that space.
Mm. So Jay, thank you.
You get a lot more functionality when it's being converted into a date.
Yeah. Now, Jay, I didn't do that. I did it with you, right? Because I remember you stepped me through it. But no way I could reproduce that when I failed to save that report.
Yeah.
So when I did it again, I just did the A to Z filtering, and that seemed to work.
the A to Z filtering will sort it, but if you want to do anything else,
Yeah.
like filter it and just filter out certain months, you won't have that option.
No, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just highlight it, color coded, and kind of work like, you know, so I'll do the fudge version if you like for
Yeah.
someone that doesn't have the
So
level.
there's probably different levels of it. You could actually use not put in these correct date columns, but you just get limited functionality with, you know, you could sort it A to Z, which will sort it correctly, but you're limited with any extra functionality.
Yeah, there'd be some of us who are on the call that would probably be our upper limit of where we could go with an Excel spreadsheet.
So I'd say there'd be about 3 levels of working with it. The key thing is you need to go to the data ribbon and hit this funnel button here.
Yep.
So you have all of these things appear at the top.
Yeah, exactly.
So the first level is not to add in these extra columns and just work with it as it is.
Yep.
You'll be sorting A to Z, and don't think, well, why is it sorting dates A to Z instead of, you know, oldest to newest? That's because it's been downloaded as in the wrong format.
Yep.
So the second level would be to add in these extra columns where you have this date value formula to convert it to a date, so you get better ability to manipulate what you see in the spreadsheet. And the third level would be to add in the conditional formatting and have the automatic color coding.
Right. So Jay, can you show, and see we've got an Excel spreadsheet, just simply how to add a column and where to click if you want the column to the right of the column that,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I sort of will mention before, like let's say there's a few other sponsors here. If I say, look, I just want to focus on the people that Mary sponsored, I can hit the drop down alongside of sponsor, and in the search box here, type in Mary and go okay, and now I'm only seeing the people that Mary sponsored. So I hit that drop down there and click the red X, clear filter. So you can actually filter or sort on other ones, not just the renewal date. And the one where, if you've got an international business, one where it's useful, if I click on here, I've got people whose renewals are in Australia, New Zealand, United Kingdom. So I'm thinking, do you know what? I want to just focus on the people in New Zealand first. So let's hit this filter in the country column. Let's uncheck Australia and United Kingdom and go okay. And let's just focus on calling all of these people in New Zealand.
Yeah, that's really useful if you've got people in different countries. Yeah, I like that.
That's a useful one as well. I've got to get on tonight and talk to some people in the United Kingdom. So I'll go on there and just filter for people in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
And then I'll give those people a call.
Yep, beautiful.
So a couple of other things before I answer your question there, Janine. Two things that happen. Every now and then, if you might have filtered something out and you forget that you've done it, you know that you're seeing a subset of the data because you're seeing these little funnels.
Yeah, just say that again,
at the
Jay.
top of the columns.
Yeah, okay.
Also down the side, 1984. So there are a few things to look for. To scan across at the top, are there any little funnels? Are the numbers, consecutive down the side? So I'm just going to click on these ones with the funnels and clear the filters for each of these ones and bring the data back to how it was. If you want to add in a new column, like select anywhere, I'm selecting the email column, right mouse, click it, insert, and it will always insert to the left. And then you've got another column. And one other thing that's useful, if you notice we scroll down this list here, which one was the last order date and which one was renewal date?
Yeah, freeze the top.
Yeah, so there's a technique called freezing the top row. For that, you need to go to the view ribbon, and there's a button called freeze panes. You click on that, and there's an option called freeze top row. What happens now is when we scroll down, we can always see which is the last order column, which is the renewal column. Yeah. Now, the only thing to be mindful of is people that there's different versions of Excel. So every 3 years, there's a new version comes out. So if you've got a really old version, like going back to 2010, it'll probably be a little bit different. If you've got a Macintosh version, it will be different again, because the Macintosh version is not quite the same as the PC version, but there should always be some sort of search or help option. So if you're looking for a particular function, like you want to insert, go into the help section, type insert, and it will show you where to go to do it. So the Mac ones will be slightly different to how it works, but only slightly.
Thank you, Jay.
Does that give you a bit of an orientation and help with all of that?
Yes, yes. And thank you so much. And thank goodness there's a recording.
Yeah. And as I said, like there's 3 levels of it, so what you covered off before was the basic stuff. And I think, as you said, Janine, that'll work for most people.
Yeah.
But if you invest a little bit of time and work out how to do the next 2 steps, you'll get quite a powerful tool that will help you, analyze your business. And then generating reports on the 1st of every month, that will then, you can use that report for the whole month.
So I'm still not clear what's the benefit of downloading a report every month. Can you just speak into that a little bit more, if it's something that's not about formatting a report?
My feeling with that is, if you only did it every 6 months, let's say there was, let's sort this by oldest and newest here. So let's say we've done this report, and there's these people at the bottom, they're not due, they've been suspended for some reason, even though their renewal isn't due for March next year. I don't know why that is, but if you're doing it every 6 months, there's a chance that people will have moved onto this report, and you won't notice it. So let's say Christian isn't on this report now because he's an active associate, and tomorrow he becomes suspended. 6 months time, I do the report, and he's only days away from being removed from the system, and that's not giving me a lot of time to work with him. Where if I do that every month, and I saw, oh look, Christian's just come up in the last month, that's a bit odd, let's give him a call. So you're actually calling him within a month of him going inactive. There's a better chance to engage with him and re-engage with him and get him sort of involved with the seal, where if you do it every 6 months and only pick that up in 6 months' time, and he's already been inactive for 6 months, and you've only got maybe a week to get him back and registered, there's a lot of pressure there, and there's a big disconnect.
Yeah, I mean, totally. That totally makes sense. I'm still missing something here. I still don't understand how somebody could come into the report in a month's time that, within those date ranges we're looking at now.
The criteria for this report is, the only thing we did when I made the report on the ASEA site was, let's look for the people who are suspended, renewal due.
Yep.
That's the only thing we were looking for. So if Christian is active today, his renewal is the 14th of January. Today he's active. Tomorrow he doesn't pay his renewal. On the 15th, he has now had his status changed to suspended, renewal due.
Right.
So he won't be deleted and wiped from the system for another 6 months. But I think it would be really, really good to connect with him within a few weeks of him moving into a suspended, inactive, renewal due state, rather than waiting to 5 months down the track.
Right. Okay. I have to give that.
Does that make sense?
Yes. I mean, the thing that makes sense more to me, and I will give that some more thought, is so there could be someone on this report that actually pays in the meantime. So therefore, they're no longer should be on this report. So we don't want to be sending them text if they've paid. So that's the other thing to consider.
Yeah, and so that's another valid point. So if you only do this every 6 months, and then you think, oh, this person needs it's showing that they're sort of inactive and they paid their renewal 2 months ago,
Yeah.
you know, the data becomes out of date. So doing it every month is you've got reasonably accurate data. And if I call someone and say, like say in 2 weeks' time, I'll call Christian and say, hey, Christian, I noticed you're, you know, just reaching out, just noticed that your renewal was due and I just wanted to follow up and see where you're at with everything, etc. You say, oh no, look, I just paid it a couple of days ago. So, oh, great, fantastic. Then you can have a conversation about whatever and strengthen his involvement with ASEA, etc. And I think there's no harm done because there's a very minimal space between when he's done the renewal himself and when you reached out to him. Where if you're doing these reports every 6 months, I think that there would be, you know, a greater chance for disconnect.
Yeah, and look, I think what's getting in the way for me when your reports are bigger, it could be unlikely that somebody shows up in the report that wasn't there before. It's going to be harder to pick those things up. It's not going to be a standout. Whereas if someone's got a much smaller team, it probably will stand out. So yeah, so an opportunity not to be missed. Yeah. Well.
Well, see, that's the other thing that you could do is you could, like, let's say I do this on the 1st of every month. I could actually save this report as report January. And the next one I do report February, which is on the 1st of February. And then if I sort it by the renewal date column, and I can then have a look at the two reports side by side, I can then just work out who are the people that are sort of new on the February report. And just scan those names.
Exactly. You could just look at month by month and see if the numbers are the same. Are they more? Are they less? If they're the same, it could be someone's come on and someone's come off.
Yeah.
But thank you. Okay, that's great. That's given me some clarity. So look, I'm aware of the time. I'm so grateful, Jay, that you're on tonight and have stepped in and been able to give people a live, like a real demonstration. I just want to check before we finish off if anybody's got any final questions.
Yeah, I've got a question.
Yeah.
We've heard that there are numerous emails have been going out. Will emails be continued to be sent from ASEA when people are starting to fall foul, or is that only just because of this initial rush?
Margot,
there was
do you know that?
Margot,
schedule. I didn't keep it, but there was a schedule that at so many days they would do this, at so many days they would do this, and there's a whole schedule of when the emails will trigger,
Right.
and that's all automated. So
And-
that will continue to happen.
that schedule will continue. So, you know, a month before renewal, they'll get an email. I'm just making this up, you know. I think it's about 3 months out from renewal, the emails start. So they'll get emails along the way, and then they'll get an email to say, look, you know, we're going to deduct your credit card
Right.
on this date for your renewal because they have an active auto ship. The schedule won't
I
change.
saw that email in the last couple of days.
I will have actually kept.
As well as that was a question. Now I've got a comment just for Jay. I'm working on Excel sheets right now,
Yeah.
and I am going to go back and play this recording because you've helped me heaps on the other job that I'm doing.
You're most welcome.
Yeah. So for those of you who know Excel, that would have been awesome. The rest of you probably, it might have been a bit mind-numbing. But, you know, you can fudge it.
Oh, look, I actually think is if you stop and watch the steps are actually, it's like learning, you know, just, you know.
And that's the beauty of it, Jay. We've got the recording. For those of you who love the challenge and you want to, you know, go to that next level, you've got it there, and that's the beauty of for me. Like I would probably, you know, go back and watch it if I wanted to.
So there's 3 levels. There's 3 ways you can do it. You know, like so to recap, the key thing is getting back on the associate customer report. What columns do you want downloaded? Setting that as a default and putting some work into that first, which is what Janine covered off in the PowerPoint. The second thing is working out how your computer downloads the reports and where it puts it, because everyone's computer will be different. The next thing is when you open Excel, I did it near the end, but probably I would have done the freeze panes, you know, the top row first.
Do that first.
And then you've got the 3 levels. You can use it exactly as it is, but that would go to the data ribbon and hit the funnel icon so you can actually work with the sorting and filtering at the top. The second level would be adding the extra column where it's actually converted the dates from text to actual dates. And the third level will be do the automatic color coding.
Yeah, so I think now for us to consider, now that we do have a report, which in the most part is 6 months out, maybe brainstorm and put together some different messages so that we are now able to reach out to people a month out. Now, ideally a phone call to all of these people is the way to go. And like we can now speak to somebody that we know is going to be dropping off, later this, towards May or June, and speak to them and do a hello call, find out how they're going. So, yeah, we can talk more about that. It was more just being able to access the data, download our reports and get on with it, because then we know what we're dealing with.
I just sort of add another reason why I think the color coding tip is useful is 180 days isn't always easy to calculate.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So you've got to put a little bit of effort into sort of working out, okay, where's the 180 days? And if you sort of make a mistake with your calculations, but it's roughly 6 months.
Yeah, which is the other reason why you don't want to sort of go past the Tuesday midnight, You might just fall outside of that 180. Anyway, I'm just going to go on the advice that I was given at Diamond Support today. So that's probably the safest way to do it. So thank you again, Jay.
Thank you so much for coming on and doing this. And thank you, Jay, as well, for being amazing.
You're welcome.
Jay's the Excel spreadsheet. He's the expert in Excel. In fact, he teaches it. You can probably tell. He's amazing. Thank you so much. Well, good night, everybody. I will we'll get this posted up tomorrow into the Shine Bright team.
Thank you, Janine.
Thanks, Janine. Thanks, Jay. It was excellent. Thank you. I've learnt some more.
Good.